Welcome to Wine Soundtrack USA. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world in 30 answers. Discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Allison Levine, and today I'm in the tasting room of Bushong Vintage Company with the owner and winemaker, Jason Bushong. So, Jason, welcome, and tell us about this we're in an eclectic little tasting room, but we're in the heart of Paso Robles. So tell me about you and your winery.
I appreciate you coming and giving me the opportunity to talk about it. This is our downtown tasting room. So we wanted to have more of like an urban setting, an urban feel. So it's more of a lounge type of an atmosphere. And like you can see, we have, lots of records and music and pinball machines and couches. And it's more almost like a lounge than anything else. And we love it under normal circumstances when you can enjoy the indoor space. But we have beautiful outdoor space as well. And we've been utilizing that to the best of our abilities.
Well, clearly you're not making your wine here. So tell me a little bit about do you have vineyards? Or are you sourcing fruit, a combination? And where are you doing that from?
Okay. I don't own any vineyards myself. I source and buy all my fruit. I make my wine in conjunction with a consulting client that I have. They own the building and the facility that we work out of, and I own all the equipment, and I make both of our products in that space with my equipment. And, it's worked out really well.
And you're sourcing fruit from all over the Paso area or for beyond?
We're sourcing from beyond. We get from Monterey, Edna Valley, and San Luis Obispo County, and from San Simeon on the coast. So, but I'd say probably 75 to 80% is Paso.
And what are the various varieties you're working with? Because you're kind of all over the board here. I mean, I'm sipping an Albarino, but you got sparkling Gewürztraminer. So, what are your grape varieties? We work with you hit the nail on the head. We're all over the board. I think I said earlier when we first met, I make all the wines that I really like. So. We make everything from Albarino to Gewürztraminer to wonderful rosés on the white side. On red side, we make Pinot Noir from the coast in San Simeon, Syrah from cooler climates like Monterey. We make a lot of grown varieties, Grenache. We make a lot of Tannat. Tannat, I think, is our second most highly produced varietal next to Petit Syrah. Wow.
Yeah, we're big fans of Tannat. We use it as a varietal. We use it in blends. We also use it in some rosé programs as well. And then we do have a sparkling Gewürztraminer as well that we just started making in 2018, a true Method Champenois sparkling Gewürztraminer.
Wow. And what's your total case production?
About 1,250 cases.
Okay, so small producer. Where can people find your wines? Are they just available in the tasting room, or do you have any distribution across the U.S.?
We are only in California, mostly direct-to-consumer in the tasting room, although we do have some restaurants and select wine bars and wine shops, but all in California.
But people can buy online and
Absolutely.
You can ship.
Yes, we can ship to most of the well, I shouldn't say most, but the ones that are not as restrictive as others. So I'd say probably 40 plus of the 59 states in the country. And everything is available on the website, or you could give us a call if you have any questions, and we can answer it and take the order that way as well.
Right. So, I know you had mentioned that you were born in Ohio, and I know you were raised in Riverside. So you weren't raised in sort of wine country. What is your first memory relevant to wine?
My first memory relevant to wine was when I was 18 years old. I was living in a home in Riverside with 5 other college students. I was actually still a senior in high school. I was rebellious and moved out. And one of my roommates brought home a bottle of Chardonnay, and he had bought that at a small wine shop in Riverside called Purple Toes, which I always thought was a great name for a wine shop. And actually, it was from Santa Barbara, and it was a Sanford Chardonnay.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time ago. And he shared that wine with me, and that pretty much set my destiny in play. It was very memorable, and from that point forward, I was definitely a wine guy. I never was a keg beer drinker at parties. I was always the guy sitting in the corner trying to find the other bottle of Sanford Chardonnay somebody bought. So that's how, literally, that is the true story.
So obviously, that is a very memorable wine that you drank, and I usually then ask, a question about one of those most memorable wines you drank, your first wine you ever drank, your introduction to wine. Was there another wine that sort of was an aha moment for you, whether it was about an aha moment about wine in general, about a variety, about a region, about a style? Was there another aha moment? And if so, what was that wine?
The next aha moment for me was when I was in college and I was going out to dinner with a woman who would then later become my wife. And we were at a restaurant that I frequented quite a bit because it was a very wine geeky restaurant. And we had a bottle of Viognier from California. And at that time, it was highly unusual. There weren't a lot of Viogniers being grown in California. And it was made by Rabbit Ridge, actually, in Sonoma County. They were in Sonoma County at that time. Now they're Paso-based. And I just remember it just was so different and exciting and unlike any white wine I'd ever had. Predominantly, most of the white wine I was drinking at that time was either Chardonnay or Sauvignon Blanc and things like that. The variety, in the early 90s wasn't nearly what we have now. Mm-hmm. There may have been existing wines out there, but access to them was limited when you were in college on a budget. So that was the next wine that I just remember distinctly. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to make a Viognier at some point in my life.
I love how it's all white wines. You're on a white wine path.
I don't know why it was, but honestly, those are both two true stories, and they just happen to be white wines at that time. Maybe because Riverside was so hot, that was all we could drink. And then I was on a first date, so I probably went with a white wine because I didn't know her wine experience.
And wanted to impress her.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to ask you a little later how you impress her now. But in the meantime, I'm curious. You've traveled around the world and tasted different wines, both probably domestically. You've traveled around the U.S. and others. When you look at around the world, who do you think gets to drink the best in terms of quality?
Obviously, the biggies in Europe obviously have access, and a history with the wine and what have you. But this last summer we were in Croatia. And I was thoroughly impressed with the wines that were there, some of them being very much old world style. But the stuff that I thought was of more modern style was just incredible. And the value was there. So I really, really enjoyed those wines, and both whites and reds. Obviously, a lot of Zinfandel in Croatia. And in Italy, Italy obviously has some incredible wines, and the wine culture is a beautiful culture. So I'd say any of those would work for me.
If we were to come to your home and go into your cellar or your wine fridge, or maybe here in the winery you store things, what would we find? Would we find a lot of domestic, a lot of local, a smattering of international?
In my home, it would be mostly international. So when I do go out and actually purchase and spend good money on it, I usually buy import wines just for the experience. Any
particular regions or varieties?
Not really anything in particular at all. I'm not an Italian guy, and I'm not a Francophile or what have you. It's just whatever I can get my hands on, and it just sounds interesting. And I think the most recent one I had was an Arnese from, it was Italian, and or was it Spanish? Arnese, yes. Yeah. It was incredible, and it's just something I found. Basically, my brother lives in Santa Cruz, and their Costco up there has this incredible international selection compared to most of the ones we have down here, and so it was great. I just buy like a case and a half of stuff and try it whenever we have time.
Drink very nice.
Yeah.
So you make wines that you like to drink, and you make a variety of different wines. Do you think there's a such thing as a perfect variety?
No. I don't think there's such thing as a perfect variety. I think there are such things as almost imperfect varieties, but no, I shouldn't say that either. No, winemakers, I think in general, are huge wine geeks, and I want to make every variety that I can. If some Blanc Frankish comes available to me, I'm going to take it and see what it turns into and ferment it out and see. So no, I don't think there's any so-and-so perfect variety. If anything, I think that to grow a perfect grape, Cabernet is probably right up there because it's so versatile. It grows really well. It's easy to grow, in my opinion. It's not as susceptible as all the, whatever it's
more sensitive grapes.
Yeah, there you go. Like Pinot or thinner skinned, bigger berried grapes that have a lot of issues. Cabernet here in Paso, it can rain a couple times at the end of a season. The cab can just dry up and be right there ready to go. Whereas the Pinot or a Zin or a Grenache would just be toast. So
So when I first walked in here, we got on the subject of wine competitions, and I'm curious, what's sort of in line with that? What is your opinion of wine critics and scores?
I think there's a value and use to wine critics and scores, absolutely. There has to be some guidance for a general population to be able to evaluate things because they can't purchase and drink everything that they want, And so, I highly recommend that somebody actually go taste wines. I think that's the proof's in the pudding, so to say. And that would be my biggest suggestion. But I think that, ratings and such, I prefer competitions where the wines are actually done blindly versus trade and press where I know that the reviewers actually know what they're actually tasting. That would be my only thing. Is I think truly blind wine competitions are the most fair competitions that there are. And I know that I love reviewers and I think that they're great, but I do know that most generally there's also personal relationship reviews. And so And to develop those personal relationships is a marketing aspect and what have you, more than it is just blindly tasting the wine and comparing it against itself.
Yeah. So if people aren't going to go off of scores and someone hasn't tried your wines, what do you think they're missing out on? What would you convey in your wines that someone who hasn't tried them doesn't know yet?
Personality. I think that in all of my wines, from the packaging to the vinification to the grape sourcing, is all individual. We try really hard to source the best grapes and vinify them in the best way that we can so we don't mess them up, and then package them in a unique way that's attractive and interesting and fun. And I think the setting that the wine is tasted in also contributes to the overall emotion of the taster. And all of those things I think they would be missing, and I'd love to have the opportunity to share that with them.
Mm-hmm. So if space aliens were to land on your property,
I hope they do.
Which of your wines would you want to present to them as an introduction to Bushong?
Oh, I would definitely bring them out some sparkling wine because the pop might scare them off. So I was hoping they'd get the hell out of there. But no, honestly, that would be. I think sparkling wine is the great reception wine anyway, and I think that aliens would appreciate that as well.
And plus, yours is a sparkling Gewürztraminer, so they wouldn't expect it.
Exactly, unless they were Alsatian or German aliens, which they may be. I don't know. But yeah.
So, quick question.
Okay.
Preference: red, white, or rosé?
Paso Summer Rosé.
Well, considering you had a starter of white wine,
There you go. Yeah, we sort of bounce back and forth, but in climate like this Mediterranean climate we live in, whites and rosés, just majority of the time. It's more suited to that. Although, I love red wines, but it's hard when it's 100+ degrees outside to sit down and take a big Cabernet and go, yeah, this is refreshing.
You gotta chill it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Still or sparkling?
Sparkling right now.
Champagne or from somewhere else?
From somewhere else.
Where in particular?
I would say, I like Cremant d'Alsace or Cavas, or there's so much incredible sparkling wine out there that to me rivals the best of champagne and is much more affordable and approachable.
Ooh. So, you're drinking a lot of whites and rosés. It's hot here, but we're also in Paso where, we're not exactly up against the sea eating a seafood diet per se.
Yeah.
When it comes to food and wine pairing, do you feel that there are hard and fast rules to follow of red wine with meat, white wine with fish, or do you look for something else, and how do you play with it?
I don't think there's hard and fast rules, to be honest with you. I've never been a big pairing kind of guy. I just, try to have. I don't know. That's a really hard question for me because it's just something I've just never been into. I love great food. I love great wine. I think that in most cases you can make them work together and play with it any way you want. And I don't like restrictions or guidelines or somebody telling me it has to be this way or this is what is best with that. I've had some incredible pairings that were prepared that I thought were out of this world, and I've had others that I was just like, I just don't get it. So, do
you cook a lot?
I do, yeah.
Do you normally pick your wine and then decide what you're going to cook, or do you cook your food and then decide what you want to drink?
We usually cook and then decide what we want to drink, yeah. Cooking is making dinner is a wonderful thing, but doing it 7 days a week and with the family and everything, it becomes almost like, I don't know. It's not a chore all the time, but you have to feed kids and the whole thing, and so I don't always get to cook for pleasure like I'd like to. So most of the time, it's like figuring out what we're going to do for a week's worth of meals, and then complementing whatever we want to drink with it.
By that point, you're already on bottle 2, just saying, "Let me get through the week."
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Nowadays, for sure. Yeah.
So, you're just finishing harvest. You're in the middle of harvest. I mean, in the middle of a vintage. We know that every vintage tells a different story. Do you feel that you find more variation from year to year or more similarity?
In Paso, I think I'm finding more similarity in the last 5 years, I'd say, and I don't know if that's just because of the conditions, the climatic conditions that we're in. We've been in drought conditions, and I think that's definitely had an impact, not necessarily negative or positive, but an impact on grape growing and what have you. And I've seen more of of consistency over the vintages in the last few years, for sure. Yeah, all very high end and what have you. Whereas when we used to get more inclement weather here, it was just random to me anyway. And that probably says it all, right? You just have the same climatic conditions every year due to the effect of drought or whatever it is, and you're going to have more consistent grapes.
Are there any sort of signs or omens that you look for that help you predict what a vintage is going to give you?
Rainfall in Paso, for sure. This last rainfall, the right kind of rain at the right times is always helpful, and a cool, even sort of spring and summer, which we had this year, which was amazing. I think we had the coolest June and July that I can remember. Of course, then we had heat waves in early August and into October now. So, but yeah, if we had an ideal situation where we had nice spring rains that were even and not heavy and got into the ground and didn't run off and go down to a river or what have you, and just actually went down into the deep roots of the vine, and then it just didn't get too hot too quickly, that would be awesome. And that's what was happening this year. So,
what year did you start your winery?
I started making wine for myself all the way back in 2006, but it was not anything. I was a full-time winemaker at the time, and it was more, dreaming of what I wanted to do. I probably more consistently in like the 2010s, 2010 and on, started making wine and actually marketing it. And then I opened my hospitality in 3 years ago. So that would be 2017.
Have you established any good luck rituals that you do at the beginning of harvest or at the end?
No, I only have one ritual when it comes to winemaking, that's bottling. And I have one song that I always play every day at the beginning of bottling.
And that is?
That is Sleigh Bells, Demons. Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. I don't know why, but for 10 years now, that is the song that I always start bottling with before we go into bottling. We play Sleigh Bells, which is a great band, just a guitarist and a female vocalist, and Demons is the song.
Well,
we can play for it if you want.
Sure, in a little bit,
okay,
yeah. That is definitely a ritual. So
that is a ritual. But as far as starting production, I don't sprinkle sparkling wine onto the first grapes, and I'm pretty much a non-traditional guy. I don't. Yeah. So yeah, I don't have anything like that. I just hope that somebody remembered to buy the yeast.
So, speaking of non-traditional or non-conventional, visiting the vineyards. As you walk through them, do you talk to the grapes? Have you been known to talk to them? And if so, what do you say to them? Or are you more known to talking to your wine when it's in the barrel?
No, I am definitely more known to play music for my wine when it's in the barrel, which I can't do in the vineyard as equal as well, because the sound coming from my mouth is terrible. Trust me, I have kids and they listen to that stuff all the time. So no, I don't necessarily talk to the grapes. I probably am thinking about them, and maybe they're getting that vibe from me as I'm going through and looking at them going, hey, you're going to do it good for me this year, right? We're not going to have any problems. We're not going to have any shatter. We're not going to have any of these issues. You're all going to just be cool. Like Fonte, I want you to be cool. That's it. And
when you play music in the winery, I'm sitting here in your tasting room where you have a very large vinyl collection, which I know you said is just a smattering of what you have at home. Are there particular songs or genres that you like to play, or can you tell the wine do you put the wine into a mood, or does the wine give you a mood to pick the music?
I think the wine contributes, or the music contributes to the mood in the wine pretty much. So, I mean, during harvest, we listen to, well, we go back and forth because there's multiple people working on the wine and everyone has their own suggestions. And so we bounce back and forth as to, I have a couple guys who really like country. Not my thing, but hey, let's do it. Hopefully my wine won't be all twangy when the whole thing is done. But once it gets in the barrel, then I get to dictate that part of it. And, I'll definitely, I'm a more moody kind of guy, so I'll probably play some Cure for it or something like that. Yeah, it'll be sorrowful wine, but it'll help you elevate your mood. There you go.
Like that.
Okay.
So when you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up?
An artist.
Mm-hmm. And did you by any chance draw the labels on your wine?
I didn't draw them, but did have a huge part of creating them for sure. All concepts pretty much I created myself and then worked with graphic artists to do that. But yeah, I wanted to be an artist. I guess I turned out to be an artist in a certain way. So just one that's based on agriculture and science as well. So there you go.
So when you're not working, how do you spend your free time? What do you like to do?
With my wife and my kids, pretty much. I mean, my kids are getting a little older, so that's coming into play. It's harder to create schedules, but we like to be outdoors a lot. My wife and I, in fact, first day I'm going to have off this whole harvest will be Sunday. We're going to go hiking over Montana de Oro, just to get outside. With the COVID thing, it seems like we've all been inside a whole lot. We like to ski in the winter as a family. We like to spend a lot of time at the ocean, and luckily we live close proximity to it and we get that ability. So yeah, those are the things I really, family in general, just, I mean, big with my kids and my wife and then extended family after that. But yeah, as much time as we get to do that, I think is wonderful.
I know you're really into music. Do you have a favorite band or singer?
I don't have a favorite band or singer. I have favorite bands or singers constantly. That's probably my problem. That's why there's like 5,000 records sitting behind me. It's because everyone is a new one. It's like, oh, this is my favorite band right now, or this is the best album I've heard all year right now. And then it's the next one. It's kind of like wine, It's right. Like, this is the best wine I've had in a long time until the next one comes along. There you have it. So no, enough. Not ultimate. No, I don't. There you go.
So, we had been talking, and I believe you said that your 25th wedding anniversary is approaching. And I'm wondering, for your anniversary or for a romantic evening with your wife, you've known her a very long time, you impressed her with a Viognier many, many years ago. But I'm curious, what would you be opening and put on the table to impress her today?
That would be a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what she really likes. So if I could go out and find some smaller producers, it seems like we have access to larger producers of that type of wine. And to be honest with you, here on the Central Coast, we don't have a huge selection of wine shops, strangely enough. I mean, I think there may be one or two in St. Louis. There's none that I'm aware of in Paso, so, I mean, there's restaurants that have wine shops associated with them, but not like the guy you go in and you go, here, we have wines in the alley too. I guess that's similar, but yeah, that's what I would impress. She loves New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. She loves that character. And so if I wanted to score some points with her, that's what I'd bust out.
And if she wanted to score points with you, what would impress you to open?
As much wine as I wanted. How's that for now? There you go. Yeah. Not anything in particular. My wife is not in the wine industry and she loves wine, but it's not like a lifelong obsession for her. You know what I mean? She has her own career and she does that. So we've enjoyed wine together for over 25 years. We've been together a long time. But for her, it's just, it's not an adventure. It's just a way of everyday thing.
Right.
It's different,
Not quite the next bottle I drink is the best one I ever have until the next wine I drink.
Not for her at all. No. She's pretty down to earth on that kind of stuff. Pretty easygoing, for sure.
When you think about how you live your life or how you focus on work, is there a piece of advice that was ever given to you that sort of guides you? And if so, what is it and who gave it to you?
Boy, that's a difficult question. That's thought provoking right there.
I told you I'd try.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel, my mom had a very good work ethic. My parents were separated early in our lives, and so she was basically a single mom for a long time. And I always respected. She was a blue collar worker, a very simple person, and but I saw that she would work hard and get through things, and I appreciated that for sure, and miss her every day.
So hard work, and hard work pays off, because look what you have.
Hard work pays off because I, like you said earlier, I didn't come from a wine family. I didn't come from a background like that at all. And to work within the industry as a winemaker and develop a brand and branch out on your own is a pretty difficult thing. I mean, wine production and winemaking is not like, it's not the Silicon Valley. It's not super, super high paying jobs, especially early on in your career. I mean, you're basically doing it out of passion and wanting to do that for whatever lifestyle it is that you're trying to create for yourself. So hard work has been a big part of it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, when you look back at your career, not family life, what would you say is one of your proudest achievements to date? I mean, you may have just said it, but I don't know if something else comes to mind.
I think that, definitely I feel pretty accomplished. That I guess I'm most proud that I could work within the industry as a winemaker, develop my own brand, have production ability and all of that, and have no debt. That's what I'm proudest of. Yeah, to me, I never wanted to overextend myself. I like to be able to go to sleep at night, and so I feel pretty accomplished that I can do what I can do, and I don't have a partner or a bank or anybody that I have to basically financially be responsible to.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure that keeps your shoulders much more relaxed.
Much more. I'm a high stress guy, and if I have that kind of stuff behind me, I just don't sleep well. So honestly, I really feel I'm really proud of that aspect of it. It sounds silly, but
not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
Yeah.
If you were to give a piece of advice to our listeners about wine or something, it could be about life, what would you tell them?
I am definitely not one to give anybody advice on life, that's for sure. What would I tell them? I would tell them to try to slow down as much as possible, enjoy the people around them that they love, and spend as much time with them as possible when you can, because you just never know what could happen on a day-to-day basis. And never go to sleep angry, and never hold grudges and hold things against people. It's just try to keep positive. To me, the more positive energy you put in the universe, I don't want to get too hippy-dippy on you, but I really believe if you put positive stuff out there, it's so much better to give than receive, and positive is just giving on a universal level. So, there you go.
Well, finish the sentence for me.
Okay.
A table without wine is like?
A pretty boring table. There you go.
As we sit at a table with a few bottles around us.
Definitely not weird. Yeah, that sounds horrible.
So now another scenario. Okay. We're sitting at a table. Imagine we're in a restaurant.
Okay.
We've got your wines on the table. We're enjoying them. Mm-hmm. But the paparazzi are outside taking pictures because they're super excited about who's sitting at the table with us. Who would you want that to be? Living or deceased? Who do you wish could be sitting at a table drinking your wine?
Wow. That's a crazy question. It would probably be, I don't know. Right now, I'd have to say Eddie Van Halen because he just passed, and that'd be rad. I know he was a big wine drinker from what I understood. I don't think he drank really exceptionally, prized wines or what have you. But, that would be super rad to, have somebody like that. And maybe because he just passed recently. But other than that, I would not to get into politics, but I think it'd be super cool to share some wine with the Obamas. They just seem like they would be incredibly cool people to have a conversation with. They're just level-headed, highly intelligent, and, just seem to be very gracious and would be fun to have a conversation over some wine with.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy.
You can pontificate about wine and life.
There you go. or just chill out. I just, go back to a time that, it just seemed like was a little bit, I don't know how to...
More intellectual.
Yeah, I want to say intellectual, but I didn't want to go that route, but just more gracious.
Yes.
There you go.
So, do you think we'll be drinking wine, making wine in 500 years or beyond?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the basis of wine hasn't really changed throughout antiquity. I mean, it's fruit that's fermented, whether it's grapes or whatever it is. And I mean, the ability to control that process has changed, I think, and to enhance it. But the fundamentals are all the same. I mean, nothing's changed. So I can't imagine what would change that.
Well, on the off chance that we weren't making wine anymore, and you were on a deserted island.
Okay.
What 3 wines would you take with you?
On a deserted island?
Uh-huh.
Specific wines? Or just in general?
The 3 wines you would want to drink if they were sort of your last 3 wines.
Yeah, you're throwing these questions. Well, I would definitely want to take some sparkling wine because I probably would need to hear that pop to know that I wasn't losing my mind completely. So
like a Cremant d'Alsace?
Yes, that would be awesome. And then, probably a really nice Pinot Noir would be awesome. Not sure from what region. Probably Oregon, I think, would be nice. Something a little lighter bodied, with all that sand that I'm getting in my mouth and everything. And then to cap it off, I'd want to have a really nice, heavy, well-extracted, well-made Paso Robles cult wine, like a Saxum or something like that. Just to have something heavy-bodied that would have enough kick that I could get something out of it for a couple of different days.
Bordeaux blend or Rhone blend?
Rhone, for sure. Yeah, I'm not a Bordeaux guy. I mean, I enjoy Bordeaux wines, but I always tend to lean towards Rhone for sure. Yeah.
Fantastic. So now as we come toward the end, we're going to play a little game, but you're going to be really good at this because wine soundtrack, it's wine and sound.
Okay.
So based on some of the wines that we spoke about and some of your wines, I want you to pair them with music, a song, an artist, or a genre. You can go as detailed as you like, but with 5,000 albums, wow, I'm ready for this one. Okay, so I want to start with that something like the Viognier that you wowed your wife with on your first date.
Okay, what would go with the Viognier? I think Viognier is smooth and spicy with honeysuckle. And I think anything by Leon Bridges would be hot with that. Do you know Leon Bridges?
I've heard of him.
Okay. He's like contemporary soul guy right now. Super rad. And he just has so much style and smoothness but he's got a little spicy flair, but he's kind of sweet too, and he's a good looking guy. So I go Leon Bridges for sure.
And what about a Sanford Chardonnay? It could be an aged one or it could be a recent vintage. That's up to you.
I'd have to go back to the 80s for that because that was when I first encountered that wine. And I would probably go with a Sanford Chardonnay, would go with probably a Joy Division thing, It just probably what I was listening to at that time, There you go.
Cremant d'Alsace.
That would be something poppy and kind of uplifting, like the bubbles in a sparkling wine. And I'd probably go with, caught me off base here. The Marie Antoinette soundtrack, which has a bunch of cool stuff on it. And it's kind of heavy and light at the same time. It's a great soundtrack. It was done by Sofia Coppola, who also is in the wine business.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, what about your sparkling Gewürztraminer?
What would go with my sparkling Gewürztraminer? Right now, I would have to go with Jason Isbell in the 400 unit. Anything that he does. I don't know why I'm a huge fan of him right now. And I think sparkling Gewürztraminer is kind of a thought-provoking wine because it's just so different. And his music he just is a great storyteller and a great songwriter. And sort of would go with it. And
what about, I'm sipping on this Albarino. And what about the Albarino?
Oh, something Spanish, right?
It's a domestic Albarino.
It is, you're right. It's a domestic Albarino, so let's go with that.
And you're sourcing this from?
Edna Valley.
Edna Valley.
Yeah, to the south of San Luis Obispo County from the Paragon Vineyard. I'd probably go something local then, We really like local artists out of Santa Margarita, and I can't remember her name right now. Jade Jackson. Really dig her stuff. It's kind of bluesy and soulful, and she's a local girl gone big. So yeah, go with her.
You're good at this. Okay. What about your Unknown Pleasures? That's 100% Petite Syrah.
Well, the wine is named after a Joy Division album, but
there you go.
But we're gonna go a different direction for that. That one is the 18 is 100%. So I mean. Something dark and broody for sure, maybe some 90s grunge. Let's go some Alice in Chains with that. Kind of slightly angry, but, deep at the same time.
I love it.
There you go.
And I do have to ask about your Antoinette, because, a lot of people say Antoinette, but you're saying two Antoinette.
Oh, we're definitely saying two Antoinette. Antoinette does exceptionally well in Paso. I mean, and we have a lot of Antoinette here and a lot of people who are producing it and having fun with it. So to me, Antoinette is the underdog and the underknown variety. So I would go with Bin, which is, to me, the best new band I've heard in the last 3 years, which is based out of Austin, Texas, a trio, just amazing.
Fantastic. And I can't be remiss because we have one more bottle sitting in front of us, and this has an octopus on it. It's a red wine, Central Coast.
Mm-hmm. That wine is called Same Deep Water as You, which is named after a Cure song. So we're going to go right along with that. And anything Robert Smith puts on, we had an octopus label. We wanted something water related, and it sort of goes with what we're all going through right now. We're all in the same deep water.
I love it.
Okay.
Well, my last question for you is, what wine region is at the very top of your bucket list to visit?
I did that last summer. I went to a couple that I liked, but I really liked the wines and stuff in Croatia. And so I'd like to explore more of that area on that side of the, so it would be like Slovenia and Albania and all of that. I just thought that whole area was really interesting and sort of overlooked and underrated. Yeah. And so anything over on that coast, and I'd love to go back and check out for sure. Yeah. And
as we conclude this, for people who want to come to Paso Robles, if that's at the top of their bucket list, they want to come here, how can they visit you? Your tasting room is in downtown Paso. Do you have other tasting rooms, or is this the one place they can come?
Currently, we just have this hospitality, and they can visit us. We do take walk-ins as available. You would be wise to go to our website, bushongvineyardcompany.com, and make a reservation online, or on the other hand, call us. Which the phone number would be on the website. I don't even know it off the top of my head. It's 805... I'll get it back to you. But no, go to the website. That's the easiest thing. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody has access to the internet. That's the easiest way. You can look and see what's available. It's just so much easier.
And I'm curious, when people come here, do they get to pick music, or is the music just playing? Do they have any say in music?
No, we let you pick whatever you want. That's a big part of it. And that's the fun part of the experience when you can be inside. And hopefully in the near future, I think we're getting close. If everybody does their part and behaves properly, we can get there even faster, and I would really appreciate it. So, everyone try your best to go with the rules and do what the right thing is for everybody else that's around you. And that'll get us back to a place where you can come inside, pick a record, have some wine, and we can talk about it.
Well, fantastic. Mm-hmm. I appreciate you joining us today. I hope you had a good time. I hope you don't feel too stumped. I think we covered a lot. I want to keep going through music with you, but I have to taste more of your wines first. So,
well, thank you for having me. It was super fun, and I didn't feel stumped. I thought it was really good.
Well, Jason, thank you for sharing Bushong, and I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did. You did.
Well, come to Paso, come to Bushong. You'll have a great time, and wow, lots of albums. You'll find a great mix. So, great wines. Diversity, great atmosphere, diversity of varieties, and diversity of music. You can't ask for anything more.
Nope. Please visit us online at bushongvineyardcompany.com.
Cheers. Thank you. Oh.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack USA. For details and updates, visit our website, winesoundtrack.com.